Let's see here. Oh, there you go. Sorry about that. I wasn't even on. I didn't even have the microphone on. I was dead silence there. But anyways, if you could hear me, please let me know. And looks like you might be able to. I'm hearing that you can. So let's see here. I'm just gonna get a little bit of back of a recording so I could see. Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, what we're going to be discussing tonight, and I apologize for being late tonight. I was supposed to be on at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, but RJ had an interview with Blacks and the Great. If you haven't seen his channel, go visit it. He's doing some good things. He's pretty much kind of on the Nipsey Hustle grind, doing the investigation, and of course, he learned something. I learned something tonight. Is he was a pupil of Nipsey Hustle, so great things he's doing there. Blacks and the Great, Blaxon. The Great. Go visit his channel. He's doing some good things. Anyways, him and RJ, we're doing an interview tonight. They had never really talked about the Tupac case, and I know that Blackson was saying he didn't know a whole lot about it. But anyways, the tonight's subject matter is going to be the Frank Alexander hard drive that was just publicized today to be in the hands of an auction house that's, according to RJ's based out of New Jersey, they have a hard drive with some files of Frank Alexander, personal files, and also some files of some Tupac music that's been unheard of, and also some Tupac pictures that have never been seen before. We do have some contention on that. RJ says that there is no new material that's going to be inside of that hard drive, but I know that he's supposed to have a conversation with the person who is maintaining that auction, and I guess they can come to some terms on what it is that is could potentially be on those hard drives. So we'll find out more about that. But the most interesting thing about that is that the actual auction price is going to be starting at $10,000, and they said potentially that it could fetch anywhere from $600,000 to $1,000,000. Of course, you got to pay your auction fees, whatever that may be. I think it's like 20%, and then of course capital gains tax, if there is capital gains tax on that kind of item. So, person that is auctioning off that potentially could walk away with, I don't know, maybe about maybe $500,000, $600,000 for those files. RJ has stated that the documents may have been duplicated, and that may just be a secondary device. So I guess the person who had relinquished the rights to that hard drive, whether it be theirs or not, they potentially could have the true original copy of everything that's in there. And we do have some screenshots of that tonight that I am going to put on a screen slideshow so you can take a look at it. Now, there's nothing very revealing. There's a lot of folders with a bunch of names, a bunch of PDF files, and then, of course, you'll see some association with RJ and Frank Alexander. Of course, they were business partners for several years, long-standing years. So, of course, you'll see his name in there. Now, the question would be is who's a person that actually put out this, hard drive? I didn't know that they had sold the house, so it's potential they found this hard drive hidden somewhere in a house. Maybe they were doing a renovation. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole here. Debbie Alexander, I think from what I can remember, RJ did not get information from her that she had been the person to send this off to the auction house. So it may be somebody who is unknown to the Tupac community that doesn't really have a true sense of worth of what it could be that they had in their hands. But, they're taking a gamble, and obviously there may be some legal ramifications depending on what it is that is revealed in that hard drive, depending on the people that are interested in bringing some kind of, suit against the person or the peoples that are involved in this. So we are going to go into the slideshow here. And as you can see there, and you might want to maximize your screen there, and you'll be able to see, and it's going to go pretty quickly, but they'll be alternating throughout the conversation, and you'll see that there's a bunch of pictures here. And if you really look at it, there's been a lot of pictures that are on there that we've already seen before. So I don't understand the whole thing about there being pictures that we've never seen before. So I don't know Jordan, welcome. Cabral, Kevin James, I heard you too. Welcome, man. Like I said, probably won't get a a big audience. Maybe the algorithms aren't working or whatever. That's okay. I promised to do a live stream at 8:30 p.m. Decided just I'm gonna go through with it. But as you can see there, there's some file folders there, several file folders. And you can pretty much read them unless you actually delve into them. You'll really know what they say. But these were all like screenshots from what I think the bulk of whatever is inside that hard drive is, but don't really know. You see some mentions there of the Tupac DVD campaign recommendations. Let's see here, the Tupac Before I Wake. There's some other things there. Trial continuance, Tupac's music, best practices, RJ. There's just a bunch of files there. Interesting to whoever buys it. But I guess the question would be: is the person who buys it, what value is it to them to have all these files? I mean, those pictures, if you think about it right now, and if you guys are familiar with cryptocurrency, and I'm actually a big advocate for cryptocurrency. It's just like the stock market, but it's a lot more volatile, of course, and you can make a lot of money doing it. But what they're doing today is, of course, NFTs. If you haven't heard of NFTs before, you're learning what NFTs are now. NFTs are non-fungible tokens. So basically, you could use a picture like this. You could computerize it. You could make it into an animation, things of that nature. And you can actually sell it online as a NFT. Now, once it's minted, basically, nobody else can use it. Now, obviously, you can have somebody, and I'll explain to you here very briefly. I know it's not Tupac related, but just to give you a quick understanding of how these things work. So we have this picture here of Tupac and whoever else is. They can basically make an image of that, and you can take a picture of it and screenshot it, and you can say, hey, that's mine. Well, it's the same thing as you can go to somebody's house, a mansion, and you can stand in front of it and take a picture and says, that's my house. Well, it may be true in your head, but the person who's living there actually is the owner of the house. So once you mint these NFTs, basically it belongs to the person that's the owner. And now it's all metadata, and of course we're going into like kind of the virtual aspect of things. So right now people are making a lot of money selling NFTs. Now, like I said, depending on how you look at it, if you look at it from the perspective of, well, I can take a picture of it and it belongs to me. Yeah, you can take a picture and it belongs to you, but you're not going to make any money off of it. So the sole owner of it is actually selling an NFT to be used in, whatever form or fashion, and people are paying for it. And you could also resell them as well. So, yeah, and like I said, that's really a breakdown of NFT. And then just to take it a step further, you have Crypto.com, who took over the lease. The Staples Centers, now it's going to be called the Crypto Center, or Crypto.com Center, and won't no longer be Staples. And of course, that's going to be strange to hear Crypto.com Center rather than Staples. But anyhow, they are actually doing a release of the Death Row Records NFTs. And, I'm not saying that, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to be limited, because limited is subjective, but people are making money off of just nostalgia, rap nostalgia, Death Row. I mean, if you look at it right now, there's a bunch of things that are coming out from Death Row Records, apparel, shoes, NFTs, toys. I mean, you name it, it's coming out. And basically, whoever owns Death Row, we already know who does. I don't have to mention that. But what I'm saying is they're making a lot of money off of just a picture of something. So right now is the best time. If you don't know or don't have any education on cryptocurrency, certainly go look at it. There's a lot of factors, market cap size, what the utility of what cryptocurrency is going to be used for. NFT is a really, really hard space to get into unless you have a really big following in like, let's say, Twitter or Instagram or anything like that. You can create pictures. You can hire somebody from Fiverr to create pictures for you. You can go over there and you can sell them. If you have a big following, then you won't have any problem getting any money. Of course, it'll all be in Ethereum. And right now, if you're looking at it, Ethereum is at about $4,100 a token. So anyhow, that's pretty much it on. I'm not going to talk your head off about cryptocurrency, but basically, that's how I guess these pictures could be used. I mean, of course, they could be used over and over again for, like, let's say somebody who makes a documentary and they want to use some of these pictures. Of course, you have to pay for the rights of that, but also, they could be used for NFT, possibly. So, but as you see here, you're looking at the pictures there. I mean, we've seen a lot of these pictures before, I think. I mean, I could be wrong. Obviously, we've never seen the files before. RJ would be one of those people that have probably seen some of these files before. Of course, one thing that was really striking was there's a business card folder. I don't know if you'll see it on the picture, but I remember RJ talking about how Frank Alexander would save every single business card from every single person that he would meet, and that he had a really, really big stack of them. So what he was probably doing was scanning the business cards and putting them into a folder. Of course, since we, started getting into the digital age early on, and probably I would say mid 2000s, maybe 2010 area around. And now, I mean, I wouldn't say we're fully digital, but I mean, Rolodexes and what do you call those in the library? I don't even remember what they call them. It's been so long. Dewey Decimal System, or I don't know, whatever it is. They don't operate like that too much anymore. They're trying to go away from that kind of setup, of course. So, yeah, that's pretty much it on that. So you'll see that occurring again and again and again. So I'll leave that on for you a little bit more. And let's see if you have any questions about anything. And I did want to bring up something, and I will bring it up because I think it's very important to bring up, because I think that there really isn't a lot of opponents out there who even question any of these kind of things out there. 2004, 2005. I'm going to say what's up to the people that are in the chat room right now. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask those questions. We have Jamar Hatton, of course. One of my favorite people to call in, and he had a lot of great questions about the Tupac case. I don't know if his mind has changed as more information is funneled down the line here, but great interview with him. Pee Wee McGee, what's going on, man? Don't have a lot of people in the chat room. I think we have like 11. That's cool. This is not about numbers. We can, I will just make a statement. We could have other channels talking about you don't have 32,000 subscribers and all this other stuff. Now, I will make a contention on this. I don't get on very often, and I haven't gone on very often because I have other things in life that are taking place right now. And, just from a career standpoint and from a standpoint of making money, like, okay, YouTube doesn't pay the bills. So whenever people say, oh, man, you're just on the Tupac subject matter because you're trying to make money. You're making money off a dead man. It's like, come on, man. Like, you're not making any money on YouTube. You know how long it takes to make money on YouTube? Unless you have these interviews with these big people and you have the algorithms to support the traffic to your channel, is when you're making money. Now, if you're doing this, you're doing it for the labor of love of Tupac, and you're not doing it for money, first off. But the whole 50,000 subscribers, I don't care about subscribers. I don't care who's a subscriber. I don't care about any of that. Okay, I have a regular job. I make a lot of money. I'm invested heavily in cryptocurrency. I'm taking care of that. I'm consistently watching the markets. I'm not concerned about making a YouTube video because, like, I need to keep up with another channel who gets 40,000 views or anything like that. This is not what that's about. So that's pretty much what I have to say on that. But let's say we've already talked about it before, last man standing, okay? And we found out, and you know it already, and we've been telling you for years, and you've understood this if you've been in the community, whether you believe it or you don't. And the people who don't believe it don't want to believe it because they have tunnel vision. But in the documentary Last Man Standing, Nick Broomfield personally has an interview with the chief of police, LAPD, who specifically says, we know that Rafael Perez and David Mack work for Death Row Records. I mean, it doesn't get any more true than that. I mean, if you want to call him a liar, you certainly may. But of course, I would think that Bernard Parks would know who on his force was working for Death Row Records. So we know that. So the pundits won't want to bring that up because to them, it's kind of like anything else. Like for some reason, Bernard Parks is going to lie and say that David Mack and Rafael Perez worked for Death Row Records. Now you have Greg Kading, who's come out, and you can go and look at it, several interviews and go and look at them and refresh your mind. And even the people that are opponents, you can go and look at it. The truth is the truth, right? It doesn't change. He specifically says that David Mack and Rafael Perez never work for Death Row Records. Absolutely never work for them. Never, never. That's the hill that he died on, okay, when he wrote his book. So you got to ask yourself, who is the liar? And if he lied about that, how much more is he lying about? So basically he lost his integrity right there. I mean, think about it. Like, okay, if somebody lies to you, do you kind of give them a leeway because it was a lie, but maybe they told the truth on other things? I don't think so. But the other thing as well is that, we have Phil Carson, of course, who came out and he talked about that guy. I don't even want to say his name. It's not even worth saying his name. I mean, the guy's a failure, okay? We all know he's a failure. I mean, got Death Row Records and pretty much squandered it from what it was. And he takes credit for putting out these albums. And, it wasn't like he was a talent agent. Basically, Death Row Records still had some momentum after Suge Knight went to prison. So it wasn't going to just not be, eliminated because Suge Knight left. They still had artists on the roster. They still had to come out with records. And they were going to do it. So basically, I think Death Row Records lost its momentum probably in the early 2000s. I mean, maybe 2002, maybe 2003. But they were still on the upward swing, kind of like the stock market. They were still on a bull run, and they were still doing very well, okay, even after Tupac died. But it was starting. They were already on top of the slope, okay. And when he died, it was gonna gradually start going down, and it did go down. It really did. It went down, and the artists they had, okay, they were able to produce record sales that were decent, and they were legitimate for the time being for selling records. Obviously we know now you can't sell records anymore. Digital downloads is what it is now. I mean, Spotify, most people don't even have an MP3 player or anything like that in their car. I mean, most people are using auxiliary, using Bluetooth, and just streaming it from Spotify or Pandora or whatever it is. But, CDs don't sell anymore unless you like the nostalgia. I mean, records are coming back, the ones you play on the record player. They're coming back if you like that kind of thing. Most people don't. They just want to get straight to the point. Like I said, we live in a microwave society. Everything people want quick, fast, in a hurry, So nobody's kicking down any doors trying to go buy a CD. So anyways, back to my point was that these guys who were coming out, I mean, yeah, they got some record sales. They got a platinum record or they got a gold record, but it wasn't like that dude, the head of security, was like a talent agent and he was going out there looking for talent, and he booked that talent and he put it together and he made, success and they flourished. No freaking way. Suge Knight was the person who was instrumental in getting all those guys in the roster. He just couldn't fulfill his obligation because he had to go to prison. So obviously he left that dude in charge, and that dude just squandered everything. And then he's trying to take credit for that success. Come on. This is how you know he's delusional, okay? And if you haven't been keeping up with my last upload, you saw that basically what he did was he went and he did a FOIA, Freedom of Information, on the prison phone calls from Suge Knight, and obviously Suge Knight was talking about whoever he was talking about, and that's the MO of this guy, is that he's always causing trouble. He's always just causing dissension everywhere. Everything he does turns to mud. Everything. It doesn't turn to gold. It turns to mud. And he got jacked by his own friends for $35,000. He didn't even get 1/3 of it. He didn't even get nothing. They jacked him. and it, maybe he deserved that. You know what I mean? Because he lost the whole record company, okay, and then he got caught doing interstate drug dealing, right? And then he gets a little bit of whatever, he gets time or whatever. And then he gets on the phone call with Phil Carson, and he remembers everything else about everything else that's ever happened in Death Row Records. He can tell you about everybody's trials and tribulations. He can talk about, Corrupt being whatever he was, and he can talk about Daz being this. He can talk about this. He can talk about that. Talk about everything else. He can talk about everybody, and he remembers everything. But he doesn't remember meeting Phil Carson. Okay, he don't remember that. And that's what I'm telling you is that basically he cherry picks what it is that he picks because he tries to make himself look good, like he's never a person at fault. And that tells you something about the guy, okay? When somebody who can't even accept their faults, I mean, to me, it's like a narcissist. Like, you're like a psychopath, man. Like, you speak a lot of sweet nothing. So now Suge Knight, basically, who gave him everything, because let's face it, if Suge Knight didn't give him anything, he wouldn't have anything. He's getting a check every month or whatever it is. Who knows? I don't know if that's true or not, but he's getting it because of Suge Knight. He has his house because of Suge Knight. He has everything because of Suge Knight. And then basically what he did was he went out and made it a point to basically just squash Suge Knight. And the reason why is because he's trying to distance himself from the whole, Biggie thing. You know what I mean? And it's just absurd already. And the thing was that, and this is the truth be told, Phil Carson, the only reason why Phil Carson didn't call him an informant on the phone was because if there was ever an opportunity later on in the future where, somehow or another he was involved in it, I'm not saying he was involved, okay? I'll put it out there. I'm not going to accuse anybody of a crime, okay? I mean, there are some dots that could be connected, but what I will say is this, is anybody who has a brain or half a brain would know that Phil Carson's not going to call somebody an informant on the phone that he could potentially be asked later on in the future to be a witness or to be a expert or whatever it may be to testify against a person, to where a defense lawyer can come and say, hey, well, you called him an informant already, so you already had a pre-built notion about this guy already. Let's get this thrown out. You know what I mean? So it's like, he's not going to say he's an informant, okay? And that's just pure and point blank. He's not going to say it. He's not going to call it. He wanted to call it. He kept telling them, hey, man, just, be quiet. I'm trying to save you, whatever. And he didn't remember him. And he would say, like, oh, I never met that guy before. That guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. And then he's like, you remember you met me? You met me with a guy named LJ. And he's like, oh, yeah. He remembered that. It took him forever to remember that. He remembered everything else. There's a reason why he forgot it, okay? Connect the dots here. There's a reason why he didn't want it to be out there, because anybody who has like a real, like, if you wanted to, you could go do a FOIA on his prison conversations if you wanted to do it. Like, if there was somebody who was really up to, like, being gung-ho investigator and being like, you know what, I'm going to go investigate everything. I'm going to go talk to every person. I'm going to go figure out a way to connect with law enforcement. I'm going to go find a way to check his records. I'm going to go on his way to check his phone, all that other stuff. We had somebody to do that. You might find something out different, but there's nobody out there like that, or nobody that's going to willing to do that. You know what I mean? Because basically there's no point. I mean, the dude just basically buried himself already. I mean, he's already been a failure in everything he's done. I mean, Tupac died because his lack of competency. I mean, why didn't he even own a security company? And you put, like, some ragtag, group of guys who are, and I'm not talking about Frank Alexander. I'm talking about, the guys that weren't trained to be security. Now they're trained to be like security, like brute force on the street, like beat you up, but they're not like trained security where you have to go and you have to learn things, kind of like in the military. When you go to the military and you join it and you're a private contractor, they don't just give you a gun and say, hey, all right, here you go. Here's some bullets and here's a magazine. Go out there and kill people. No, you actually got to take training. You got to take weeks, months of training. And then you're able to go out into the green zone. You're able to be a contractor. And of course, there's just a lot of parameters on whoever you're protecting or whatever it is you're doing. How I know all that, don't ask me, but I'm just saying. But I digress. And I will just say that much more. I'm not going to say anything else about this dude. All I'm going to say is that he's taking some jabs at me. I really don't care. But just so that you have an education on things, because all the time. He tries to paint a picture about all these other things, and there's a slew of things that I could talk about, of things that were lies and stuff. There's no point. What I will say is that basically he's not to be trusted. Basically, he turned his back on Suge Knight. Um, if anybody was an informant, it's probably him. I mean, he's probably the one that was telling everybody everything about what was going on Death Row Records and things like that. And then, of course, his close relationship with Greg Kading, their buddy. Of course, they have a story to keep together. So that's all I'm gonna say. I won't even say anything else about the dude. He could say whatever he wants. Hopefully, he gets he gets better. He got sick, and I mean, I would have thought that he would have saw things a little differently after he was able to get healthy again, and pretty much kind of keep it on a positive note and not keep up this kind of like hate campaign and just like tearing people down. And I mean, that's all they're about. They don't do anything else. What else do they do? They don't bring any interviews. I mean, they do bring interviews, but most of the time it's just talking about people. And it's like, what is their main agenda? And that's all I'll say. I don't care. He don't have my life. I don't live his life, and thankfully I don't want to, don't ever want to. But just know that there's always two sides of the story, okay? Not just one side of the story, not one side of the story to make yourself look good, but there's also other stories out there that will truly speak to the kind of person you are. But I digress. So anyways, I'm going to read some comments here. Kevin James, I never believed Kading. Yeah, never believed it. The hardest part about Biggie is who is going to place Mac and Perez in this situation, and when they get the contract to say Suge had to do it isn't enough. Well, I will say that, okay, like they always try to make fun of, like they're saying, oh, Amir Muhammad wasn't the shooter. No one ever said that Amir Muhammad was a shooter. The whole point was that Amir Muhammad was there, okay? He didn't have to be the shooter, but if he was there and other people were there, that would lead you to believe that there was a conspiracy that was taking place. So you don't have to actually be the trigger man. If you and I and a few other people conspire to do a murder, okay, I might not get the most time, but I was a conspirator. So obviously I got another choice as well. I can be an informant, and I can tell on the other four guys. And the other four guys, the fourth guy tells on the third guy. And then basically the penalty gets stiffer and stiffer. And sometimes it's just murder for everybody, because nobody talks if they have enough evidence to convict. So let's see what else we got here. Just too many dots lining up when it comes to beef. Just like Jackie said, too many coincidences. I mean, hacky. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of coincidences going on. And I think basically you got to open up your eyes and see things for what they are. And, just get out there and just think for yourself. Don't let somebody lead you to believe something. And a lot of times, you'll have people that won't even let you be objective or whatnot. And just to let you know, I mean, and I know there's people that are probably here listening right now that don't go back and run and tell, whoever they're going to tell. And I really don't care. I mean, that's cool. We all have an opinion. I can say what I got to say. And that's pretty much, the gist of it. So, just think for yourself. Don't be led on by people, by the media, things of that nature. When we had a conversation earlier today about Kyle Rittenhouse, and what it all comes down to with that gentleman is that it always comes down to a hard line. You're either Democrat or you're Republican. If you're right wing, you're a Trump supporter, and you're this, that, and the other. If you're a Democrat, then you're a communist, and this, that, and the other. I will tell you that I don't support either. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm a free thinker, think for myself. I don't need to be part of a party to establish myself in this society. And I will say, and we had a big discussion about this, and this is off the Tupac subject. And there were some people that weren't too happy about it, because if you were, and this is not defending Kyle Rittenhouse, because I'm not here to defend anybody. All I will say is, just in general terms, if you're being run down by somebody, no matter what it is, and you have a gun in your hand, you got two choices, okay? Your first choice is going to be you let somebody harm you, and, you die with your gun by your side, and I guess you die in honor. That's how the media or how people want to spin it. or you can be a person who has your gun and you have no other choice left but to defend yourself because one, you're getting battered with a skateboard or getting kicked, or you have a guy who's going to run up to you and shoot you, and you have no choice. So, I mean, call it what you want. A lot of people will spin it and say, "Oh, this is a racial thing." To me, like I said, it's subjective, and a lot of times when you're, I guess the best analogy is to use is that not all of us are watching the same movie all the time, if that makes any sense. So, it became a whole like, well, it's you're you're a bigot, you're this, you're that, and the other, and it's like, come on, man, like this has nothing to do with race. Like I'm a minority, okay. I'm not of Caucasian descent. I'm not of whatever. But and not only that, but the other thing too was if you watch the video, I mean, I'm not, he killed 3 or 2 Caucasian gentlemen, obviously. So the circumstances, I guess, were a little different, but I mean, they were in the hornet's nest, so to speak. I mean, you had people that were there for the BLM purposes, which is cool. I get it. But then again, a lot of people don't understand that you have like these weirdos, Antifa, who are like the saboteurs. They use these movements to go in and destroy stuff. And basically what they do is they point the finger at BLM is what they do. I'm not saying that not every single person that is, in the BLM movement hasn't gone out and broken a window or anything like that. But what I am saying is that you have the Antifa people that are actually out there trying to cause problems, and they're doing all these things. And it's okay for them because they don't live in those immediate communities. So in other words, like they're tearing down stores, they're burning down this, they're burning down that, and everything else. And when it's all said and done, the people that live in the community, they lose everything that is part of their community. So they don't have a Target anymore. They don't have that store to go buy some milk. They don't have, and I'm just speaking on marginal terms here. They don't have any of those things because you got people that don't live in the community go in there and tear it up. And then it becomes this whole campaign on, depending on what news you listen to. Look, I don't have to be in politics to tell you that CNN is Democrat and Fox News is right-wing, Republican. So they try to turn this whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing, and his lawyers, if you hadn't realized, his lawyers were trying to use him as an example, like, to use him as the front man for like this whole like right-wing gun-toting movement. And that's why he fired him, was because he didn't want to be in that. And you saw him come out, and whether he was sincere or not, he came out in his interview with this dude and he said he was a supporter of BLM. I don't know if he's being sincere about it or not. I'm just saying at face value, he at least said that. And, people are like, oh, if you support him, he's your hero. It's like, no, he's not a hero. That's not the point. That's the whole point was that he used the gun to defend himself. He had to. He had no choice. I mean, if it was me and some guy was chasing me, I may have not had enough reservation and not just shot him right away, because like if I feel my life, we all have different levels of panic. You know what I mean? And to say, and I will say this, and it may be, bias here, but I grew up in the ghetto. Okay, I grew up in the bad side of town. Okay, I'm formal now and I'm proper. Obviously, I grew up. We all mature. Some of us stay the same. Some of us never change. And basically, you have to adapt to the settings you live in and the neighborhoods you live in. I remember being where I used to live at and have to be like on my P's and Q's because you never know what was going to happen. And you had to have that mean mug on your face, and you had to be, kind of like on high level alert, because you just never knew who was going to try to beat you up or try to jack you or whatever. And I'll just give you an example. Back in the day, if you had a starter bomber, people were beating you up for those. Like, I remember even stealing shoes was like fashionable. People were like trying to tell you to take your shoes off and things like that. We had Jordans, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't have Jordans because I grew up poor. I didn't have anything. I grew up, like I said, in a bad neighborhood. And then all those gang movies started coming out, Colors and Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, and all the neighborhood started getting together. I lived in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood, and my friends started looking at these movies and started getting, these portrayals of being a gang was cool. Obviously they don't show you the bad side of it, going to jail and dying, but they glamorize these things. And when you don't live in those kind of societies, it doesn't matter, because those things are not out in the open and they're not being seen. So basically, what do they call that? I don't even remember the term, but it's just like you're not even worried about it. If it's not happening in your neighborhood, you don't care. It's kind of like now. I don't know where you live at, what city you live in, but if you live in a certain part of town and if nothing's happening in your side of town that would involve you or even concern you, you don't care right now. Like whatever's going on in Chicago right now, none of us care. As long as our families are okay, we're okay. But I guess point being is that when you're in your neighborhood, you had to defend yourself and you had to do what you had to do. Okay. Now, there was gang violence and people were shooting each other. People were getting killed. There was a lot of violence going on. There was drive-bys. I remember at one point, drive-bys was like the big thing. And point being is that sometimes maybe some of the killings were justifiable, but in the light of it being gang violence, most of those guys weren't given that opportunity to be like, well, I was defending myself. Well, you weren't defending yourself because you're a known gang member. So I was able to escape those things, and I actually stopped gangbanging when I was in 10th grade. And I guess the point being is that the guy I would say the stupid thing for him was that he involved himself in something he didn't understand, and that's how naive he was, and he didn't have those street smarts and street knowledge to know that, like, a guy who's been in the streets like myself, and I would say maybe some of you in the chat room would know, hey, if I go to a city that I'm not from and I take my gun with me, there may be potential for violence, right? So a lot of us would say, hell no, I ain't going, because we got them street smarts and we're not going to get involved in that kind of shit. Excuse my language. We're not going to get involved in that kind of stuff. But some of us are like, you know what? I'm down. I'll go and I'll do what I got to do, And if I get into a situation, some of us know how to talk our ways out of it and some of us don't. But I think it all came down to street smarts. And the kid, I hate to make excuses for him, but he may have been book smart, 17 years old, but he wasn't street smart and he didn't know how the streets worked. When you're in front of a lot of people who live in those communities that are, I would say in poverty or close to poverty, or you have a lot of people that, just have that street mentality, you may face some consequences on the streets. So his fault was for being there, right? Because I'm sure if he could take it all back, he would have been like, hell no, I ain't going to be there, because I'm not going to protect anybody else's. And I would say mainly a lot of you out there that are from the streets, you may concur with me, but there ain't no damn way that I'm going to go out to, where I used to be from and go protect somebody's, car lot, because to be honest with you, man, I'm not trying to get down like that. I might have to face some people that I know or people that, live in the direct community. So I'm not down with that. But that's just, that's just crazy. But I mean, he really, if you think about it, he had no other choice. I mean, you had some dude chasing him. I mean, what was it that he was supposed to do? I mean, was he supposed to just like let everybody beat him up and just die with his gun in his hand? Or, I mean, I just want to know from you guys, your comments out there, what on the surface, forget the race, forget white, forget black, forget Hispanic, forget Chinese, forget whatever it may be. If you have a gun in your hand and somebody's chasing you, what should you do? Should you turn around and say, hey, man, look, take another step. You're getting me closer. I'm going to have to shoot you. And the guys that were chasing him understood, too, that chasing him also bear consequences as well. So if you're going to chase somebody with a gun, you know for a fact that there may be a 50-50 chance that you may get shot, okay? Now, you may meet somebody who has reserve that may not shoot you, but they may be getting pretty close to you, and they may just run with a gun in their hand all the way to, Timbuktu, who knows, or to safety. But if you got somebody charging you and you tell them, hey, man, slow your roll, or I'm going to have to shoot you, and that person still charges you, then they know, right, as well, that the consequences they face are death. If you go rob a convenience store down the street, you understand that if you meet the wrong clerk, they may have a gun and they may shoot you too. So I would say on both sides, his side and their side, there has to be some common sense on both sides. You know, you don't go charging somebody with a gun and not expect to get shot. I mean, I hate to say it, but it only makes common sense, right? So I'll read a few more comments here, and then I will digress, and then we'll pretty much go for a little bit while longer. If you have any questions, certainly ask those questions. And I know this is kind of a controversial show, and that's okay. I will let you know, again, I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm a free thinker. I think for myself, I always say if you're going to make any change in your community, do it for your community, do it for the things that you can directly touch. Obviously, something that's going on in Maryland right now, that if, whatever it may be, somebody, got shot for a loaf of bread. I mean, nothing you do here is going to change what happened in Maryland, obviously. Do it in your direct community, wherever you live at. If you're tired of gang violence, figure out a way to make some changes. Of course, the first change goes to change yourself, your mentality, the way you think, the way you approach life. Sometimes you have to have some self-awareness. You may have been living your certain life a certain way, but you have to understand that, obviously, if you don't look within yourself to make a change, you're never going to change. You're going to keep riding the same wave, and it's never going to change. And by the time you know it, you're going to be old and frail, and you're going to look back and say, man, I wish I would have made some changes. So don't have any regrets. Just do what you got to do. And, so anyhow, let me see here. Whiskey the Don, what's up, man? I haven't seen you in a long time. I've seen you on some boards here as recent, and then of course I visit your page sometimes. You're doing some, I think you're doing like some shoes, showing off some shoes, and doing like little reviews on shoes and things like that. And that's cool, man. I get it. I get you. It's all good. Thank you for being here. Yeah, you have to watch RJ's show. He did a good show today. He had Blackson the Great on, and Blackson's doing which is Little Kev. He's doing this interviews with people that are associated with Nipsey Hussle, the murder surrounding Nipsey Hussle, kind of the things that took place, the oddities and things like that. Let's see here. So Gem City Charles, that reminds me of Chicago, man. There used to be a gang called let's see here. Can't even remember the four channel gems, or who knows? I can't remember, man. It's been so long. Let's see here. Dude was tripping. RJ's comments. Nothing about it but a hate crime. Ahmed. That's hate. Absolutely. The Ahmed. And I'll keep going down. But the Ahmed Aubrey, that definitely was a hate crime, man. That actually was like straight up racism. Like just straight up stereotyping somebody who was running down the street. These dudes didn't have to go to that extreme. They didn't have to corner them. If they felt so adamant about their safety in their community and from theft and things like that, I mean, all they had to do was call the police. That's it. If they really just wanted to follow him, they could have just followed him in the truck and not even said anything, or not even pulled a gun out. None of that. And if the dude decided to run like off into the woods or something like that, well, then that's it. I mean, you might have just frightened him and he'll never come back again, But if the dude was just running down, jogging or whatever, and they didn't even have to approach him aggressively, they could have just been like just following him and just call the police. Hey, we have somebody who we're suspicious about, whatever. Then that would have been it. And these dudes would have not been going to prison for the rest of their life, which they do deserve to go to the prison for the rest of their life because of their actions and of their their prejudice and their racism towards somebody of color that they didn't agree with or feel safe about. And that's crazy how people get a one-track mind of like, well, he's Hispanic or he's black, so there must be some kind of trouble brewing, or he's just not a good person. And it's just a sad way of thinking, and there's some places in this country that still think that way, and they will never change because there's a lack of one thing. Four Corner Hustlers. There you go, man. That's what it was. Education, and it all starts from just the infancy, growing up. Your parents to teach you things and you learn them. And obviously sometimes when you grow up and you start getting out of your your immediate like environment, you start learning more about things, and you start having an open mind, and you start understanding that those things aren't right, and they were never right to begin with. But it's just a way of kind of parenting manipulation and things like that. I'm not saying all parents are like that. I'm just saying that you could certainly fall into one of those categories if you allow yourself to do it. So, but yeah, it was a four corner hustler is what it was. All right, so let's see here. Every shot was a chain of events, and it was multiple gunshots being fired. Yeah, I mean the guy killed the first guy. The guy was very, very, very aggressive, and then he shot the second guy who hit him with a skateboard. Actually, then he got kicked first, and then he got hit by a skateboard, and he shot that guy, and then the guy pulled up to him with his gun. And I will make a point here, okay? If this guy really wanted to kill, if he really wanted to kill somebody, right? He had the opportunity to kill the guy who pointed the gun at him. After he shot him, if he really wanted to kill, whether it would have been like, self-defense or not, a murder. I'm not saying it could have been either. It probably would have been murder because the guy had his back turned to him. If he would have still felt a threat, he could have shot the guy again because the guy had a gun right in his face. Could have shot him again. But the guy basically got his arm shot, went, hovered down and was, attending to his arm. And this Kyle dude just jumped up and ran off. I mean, if he really wanted to, he could have just got up and shot him in the back. Obviously, that would have been murder. So there again, it goes to like if he really wanted to kill somebody, or he could have killed the guy that pointed a gun at him, and it may have been justifiable, possibly, but it may not. I would say it probably wasn't going to be because obviously you can't shoot anybody in the back. If you're running down the street or you run away from the cops, they can't shoot you in the back. It's a murder. If somebody breaks in your house and they retreat and you chase them and you shoot them in the back, that's murder. They'll get you for murder. But if they break into your house and they facing you and you shoot them, it's a different story. So, let's see here. Every shot was a chain of events. Mike Drew asks, how do you feel about the handling of Tupac's posthumous music? Well, we've always said that that they didn't have the very best material left from Tupac, even though he had a lot of songs in the vault, so to speak. And we do know that Johnny J's wife has a hard drive with a bunch of songs of his, and obviously there was just a lot of acapellas and a bunch of broken up material, a lot of stuff that you couldn't really put together and really make a full album. So a lot of it was just like the best material that they could gather. And then, of course, having Eminem produce one of the albums was like one of the worst ones ever. Everybody said that. I mean, everything after, in my opinion, everything after, Machiavelli is, I would say, my favorite album of all time. Me Against the World is a close second. People always say America's Most Wanted, the double album, All Eyes on Me, was the jam, was the hit, the summer hit, was the summer album, and just, the party one. And it did. The BPMs were, they were high. I mean, BPMs are probably like at 110, 120, 130, just music that flies. But it just wasn't my type of album. I just didn't really care for it too much. Machiavelli was more of like a darker album, kind of like Tupac's was, kind of showing his, kind of his real art, as far as like him being an artist, and kind of like just, I would say, his predictions, things of that nature, talking about his life and the injustices. And that was a great album. Like I said, my favorite, and anything after that wasn't great at all. No, I would say not at all. No, nothing. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think here about this because, like, just listening to all the older albums was just like there wasn't a lot of good stuff. I mean, if you listen to what was it, One Nation, which was unreleased, but if you go to my channel, I think I have book one, or I don't know which one. That was actually a pretty decent mix. Like I said, it wasn't official, but it was pretty decent. So I think Tupac probably would have had to find some maybe better producers. I don't know if he was going to work with the same ones that did Machiavelli, but I understand that he wasn't going to do music with Johnny J anymore. Now they would have been able to maybe patch up whatever the differences were, but who tells? I mean, Me Against the World was more of like an East Coast flavor, but mid BPMs, not too fast, not too high flying, just but a cool album nonetheless, for sure. Um, his earlier albums, social injustices. That's what he was on. The Black Panther thing. Those were decent albums. I say they were good. I would say they were good. I would say everything up to, in my opinion, Machiavelli. One of my favorite songs is "Staring in My Rear View" or "Staring." Yeah, I mean that's like one of my all-time favorites. "Until the End of Time" is one of my favorite songs of all time too. I love that song. Great song by Tupac. I mean, if you really think about it, he was a visionary, man. I mean, there's going to be nobody ever that's going to come close to being Tupac Shakur ever in his lifetime. I don't care for these delusionists to think that Snoop Dogg was on Tupac's level, or Eminem was the greatest of all time. Heck, no. The only reason why these guys are in that category is because they've been around longer than Tupac. Tupac died early and didn't get to fulfill his full life, basically. If he would have lived until 30, 35, I mean, he would have surpassed those guys by miles. But there again, even though he's dead, he still gets a lot of traction, though. He still gets a lot of love. I mean, people still love him. I mean, his music still comes out in soundtracks. His music is still talked about. He's still talked about. Stuff is still selling from him. And people say, well, Biggie died. Why is he not the greatest of all time? Well, obviously, because to me, Biggie's music was okay. It wasn't great. And he just didn't have the catalog that Tupac had. And I don't even think that, he died too, so why is he not the greatest? So that argument of Tupac dying, it's the only reason why he's the greatest is to me is a weak argument. Like, he's the greatest of all time because he's really the only one that ever really talked about a lot of social injustice in his music. And a lot of his stuff was like real stuff. I mean, he wasn't talking like some of these rappers today, like, they flew a plane with 50 keys of cocaine from Colombia and dodged the feds and, everything else in between. I mean, his music was realistic. I mean, yeah, there were some party jams on there, and yeah, he said some things too. I mean, you basically have to cater to certain audiences. I mean, that's just what it really comes down to. And he did that. He catered to a lot of audiences. He catered to his Black Panther audience. He catered to the gangster rap audience. He catered to his East Coast. So his hip hop style was very fluent in a lot of directions. So you got to at least see that. There are some rappers that are one-dimensional, and they don't cater to anybody but mainly people that are, gangbanging in the streets, like these Chicago drill rappers. Are they talking about anything real? Yeah, they are, but it's not anything positive. It's all about killing, In every video you look at, they're pointing guns with beams and everything else. Tupac wasn't doing that. Kill you with a pen first, and then the bullet comes later. So that's what I think about his That's what I think about his albums, his posthumous albums. I think, there is some replay value there for me, but obviously the replay value is Me Against the World, Machiavelli, and then songs here and there. The One Nation was good album. Some of the stuff he did with Spice One on America's Nightmare on Spice One's album that came out in '93. That was a great song. So it just depends on what you like. And there's a lot of stuff out there to go listen to. So, all the stuff is on Spotify. Check it out. So let's see here. Pee Wee McGee says, if Amir Muhammad didn't shoot Biggie, then I am Superman. Well, I'm not saying that he shot him. I don't know if he shot him. The argument has always been, well, if he was there at the curb, how did he run to his car and get in his car and take off? Look, man, whether he shot him or he did it, he was there. It wasn't by coincidence. It was all pre-planned. There wasn't no guy named Poochie Faust that somebody saw. Nobody saw Poochie. Not one single person. Not one single person identified Poochie. Not one single person put a sketch artist, do a drawing, and draw out Poochie. Not one person. Not one single person. There's only one person that perpetuates that story, and we know who that person is. And then the person that he says is the person that hired him, she's not even sure he did it. Now, come on now. Was it a coincidence that Amir was there? Is it a coincidence that people say that David Mack was there? Is it a coincidence that Rafael Perez was there? Or all these things coincidences? Or is the whole thing of Greg Kading saying that LAPD never worked for Death Row Records? Is that true? Bernard Park said it wasn't. Are we going to ignore that? You guys in this room won't ignore it, but those other people over there on the other channel, they will ignore it because they don't want to know what the truth is. They only want to be fed what one person tells them. That's it. And they just disregard what Bernard Park said. They just did it. They did it. The guy that works, the chief of police, they just disregarded him. And they believe some guy named Greg Kading who lied about it. Now, how does that make sense? You know, the authority of truth is a guy who lied about it, and the guy that told the truth is the liar? It doesn't make any sense. What it is they don't want to understand and they don't want to accept the truth, and that's what it is. If people would just admit it and just say, you know what, there may have been a possibility that Amir Muhammad was there. There may have been a possibility David Mack was there. Then we can kind of, you know, go off of that. But what we're getting is they were never there. Never there. But again, I always tell you guys, how in the world would somebody be able to give a sketch of a guy that they've never seen before in their life out of their own imagination, if it was just through their imagination, give it to a sketch artist, and the sketch artist draws it and says, hey, this is the guy, and it matches Amir Muhammad? I mean, that would just have to be pure coincidence. I mean, that would have to be like from the grace of God that somebody could just out of their own imagination give a description of a suspect, and it just happens to be, oh, Amir Muhammad. I mean, come on, we got to use our common sense here. And I'm not saying you guys, because I know you guys get it. Some of you don't. And just to let you know, too, that there was a lot of people that were banned off this channel because they were just vile and everything. What I did was I opened up the whole channel back. So all the degenerates that are out there just, you know, just name calling and saying this, that, and the other and have nothing positive to say because they can't accept some, you know, criticism or whatever it is. The floor is open now. No one's blocked. It's open. The channel's open. I don't have anybody blocked anymore. So those guys can come over. But, you know, obviously I want to make a comment sometimes on those other guys' channels. They have me blocked. I really don't care. It is what it is. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But the channel's open again for all of those guys. So are you still down and I Still I Rise are okay? Yeah, those are good albums too. Letter to the President. Yeah, that was a good album. I liked it. Better Days. Yeah, could be. Love to see a pic of that bald poochie. Yeah, I'd love to see a picture of that bald poochie Faust. Yeah, we don't even, you know, and not only that too, but you know, they always say that, oh, Amir Muhammad is a loan broker. He's an upstanding citizen. He's not that dude, you know. And then this dude has like 6 or 7 aliases, and then has been associated with probably, you know, potentially killing his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend. And like, this dude did everything he could to hide his identity, and you have to ask yourself why. Like, why would you go out of your way to change your identity 6 or 7 times? Now, you may be dealing with something nefarious. I'm not saying that leads to murder, but it does lead me to believe that you're not an upstanding citizen, and that there is something that is taking place in your life that would preclude you to doing these kind of things, you know, like from, you know, changing your identity 6 or 7 times. I mean, there's just, it's obvious you brandishing a handgun, and then your girlfriend or ex-girlfriend is found dead 2 weeks later, and her boyfriend as well. But I guess that may have been just a suicide too. But all I'm saying is that these guys are not who you say they are, you know. And I'm not saying you. I'm saying Greg Kading, namely, is like, oh, he's a loan broker. He's a upstanding citizen, and of course he just cherry picks what he wants to say about the guy that he is trying to exonerate, because of, obviously, if there is a connection between Amir Muhammad, there is a connection between David Mack and Rafael Perez. So I don't know, man. That's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying. Royal family, what's up, man? Thanks for being here. I was in Texas probably about 2 weeks ago. I was in Texas. I was in Houston, but right now I'm stationed in Oklahoma City. I'm here for the foreseeable future until things change. But yeah, man, thanks for being here. And if you guys haven't been on the live chat or you haven't seen, go to the Royal Family. They have a Spotify channel. You can type in the name. They got some songs on there. Of course, he can plug it on the chat if he wants to. That's cool. Just do it. Everyone knows what really happened to Biggie. Even the trolls know. Let's solve Tupac. Yeah. Kanan just took Chuck's Phillips theory and tweaked it into his own theory and tried to make it fit. Yeah, absolutely. From the whole $1 million and yada, 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 the story is just like this, I don't know, this fairy tale sometimes. But I did hear a rumor, though. Maybe somebody can elaborate on this in the chat room. What I heard was that Von Zip was still alive and he never died from cancer. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, I heard that he wasn't dead. He's not dead. He's still alive. That may just be somebody trolling. I don't know, but that's what I've heard. That's cool. That's cool, Royal Family. Yeah, OKC, man. It's a kind of different place here. So I was stationed on the East Coast, but then ended up kind of in the Midwest. But when the orders change, I'll certainly be going somewhere else in time. So, but yeah, man, shout out to Royal Family. They got some music out there, Spotify channel. I'm sure they got some music on YouTube as well. And I can't remember the song name, but I heard it, and it is a really, really good song. I want to say not Last Man Standing, but can't remember. Yeah, so plug your channel, man. If you got a Facebook or you got an Instagram or you got whatever it is, you could throw the link on there and people can hear it, do whatever they got to do. Go to support you. I mean, of course, I want to think that you're an independent artist, so no major label. So obviously support your independent artists. To me, it's always been, after a certain point in time, music, independent artists became, I think, more important than mainstream artists, because obviously a lot of stuff in mainstream is just, let's face it, man, it's garbage, And you can look at the successes of these guys from Instagram to everything else in between. It's kind of like these guys you got on there. Here you go, Man with No Plan. That was a great song. I listened to it. I actually have it on one of my playlists. But I'll leave you with this. We have these guys called the Island Boys. It just shows you how, making a stupid song like that will make you viral. So to me, it's like the artists that have like real talent takes a back seat to, things like this. So anyways, if you missed a show, just to recap, you see the files that are there that are in Frank Alexander's hard drive. We'll get more information about that, 83 gigs. Matter of factly, I actually had somebody text me right now. They're going to put a $20,000 bid on it. I don't think that'll be the winner. That may be somebody that only has 20 grand to give, but hey, at least they're giving it a shot. I don't even think it has one bid yet, but they're going to do 20 grand on it. So, who knows? We'll see. And then it'll be interesting to see the person that buys it, what they do with it. Like I said, there's a lot of things they could do with it. The pictures, I mean, obviously they could just like lease them out or something like that. Maybe to somebody who's making a documentary or magazines or something like that. Or they can do like an NFT on it, or who knows. As you can see in those files, there's some RJ stuff in there. So, I mean, I don't know if that's going to be important to anybody. Probably not. Just because, it's just files. I think the meat of of it all is the pictures of Tupac, and then also maybe I don't know, maybe some music that's in there. So Anyway, just want to give a shout out to everybody who joined tonight. Didn't mean to make it this soapbox thing. I'm pretty much done with that person that I talked about earlier today. They don't exist anymore. I'm not gonna say anything about them. I don't even care if they throw a jab at me. They have to live their life. Obviously, I gotta live mine. I'm okay with mine. Hopefully, they're okay with theirs. And that's it. So I want to thank everybody from top to bottom. We got Kevin James, thank you for being here. Jordan Cabral, Jamar Hatton, as always. Pee Wee McGee, Kevin James, Jim, City Charles, Whiskey the Don, as always. Keep doing your shoe thing. Mike Dro, Royal Family, again, go check out his music. They got the merchandise for low as $3. They have music on Spotify. I'm sure they have music on other platforms. Support your independent artist. And I hope everybody is doing well. We'll do another live stream here soon. Again, there will be some more topics to talk about, Tupac related. We'll keep it nice. Keep it positive. We'll put all this negative stuff behind us. We'll let the opponents and naysayers say what they want. Go ahead. If that's the only thing you got, then go for it. I'm good with that. So again, thanks everybody for being here. And as I always mention all the time, always seek the truth, no matter where it takes you. Have a good night, folks.